Okay, today is the 12th day of Shvat, the 10th of January. And we're in Daf Ayin in Mitzvahs Kiddush HaChodesh. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about the fact that sight in the ancient world was from the inside out. And one of the things that it does, here he says, נמשך ראייה לבחינת המלכות הנקרא לבנה, שיוכלו על ידי זה לעלותה לבחינת עצמיות אור אבא. And by the sight that the witnesses, that they see the moon, they're the ones who are giving it the power to go up to Or Abba. Meaning they're doing a type of birur, it's called. כולם בחוכמה יתברירו. Everything is clarified, is rectified with wisdom.
In other words, we were saying how the ancient world viewed, and I understand by the Metzias, it's not like that. Wasn't it better? I mean, from a certain psychological, spiritual point of view, that viewpoint is a more powerful viewpoint, and that imbued them with more insight. Do you get kind of what I'm saying?
The ancient world was much more naturally inclined towards understanding the inner workings of the person. And it was less objective. It was more subjective and less objective. So that's why they saw it as emanating from the person. The eyesight was something that was coming out.
So it gave them a greater power.
They had a greater insight into their own functioning. Now, insight doesn't mean that you can always articulate what you're feeling. It means that they were doing it naturally. And so when they did articulate something, it was very close to what they felt.
Yes.
Which is that I'm the one who's affecting reality.
Yes.
And not the reality is affecting me.
It was in a sense more spiritual.
Of course, 100%. And it places more of a burden on the individual.
Oh, responsibility.
Right, of course. They had much more responsibility. Now, you could say that subjectivism, that feeling that they had of subjective understanding of nature, of reality, is very close to what we call a feeling of the Shekhinah, a feeling of the divine presence, because you're trying to connect to it. You have something to connect to, and we feel that nature is inanimate. We don't feel that there's anything in nature. We feel that it's empty.
It's going down a dark in that essence.
Right. From the moment the temple was destroyed, we moved more and more to an objective point of view, which is really an inanimate point of view, where the individual doesn't figure because there's no real connection. That's why we're crying all the time, that if the nations would have known how important the temple is, they would have protected it themselves. They would have put armies around it to protect it, not to be destroyed. Because the temple, in that sense, was the point of connection between the divine presence and reality. Okay, so that's what the witnesses do. And then the head of the tribunal, the Sanhedrin, he says, sanctified, meaning after he hears the testimony, and the testimony fits what we said, that they calculate where the moon could be and where it could be seen from, and at what height it should be, and so on. Then when they hear this, they say it is sanctified. What do we mean it is sanctified? We said sanctification is wisdom. It's always, Chokhmah is Kedusha. Bina is Tahara, right? That's the famous pair. Chokhmah and Bina always go together. So Chokhmah, wisdom, is holiness, and Bina is purity. כי זהו עיקר העלאת המלכות בקודש העליון דאור אבא. Because that's what it means to elevate kingdom, the moon here represents the kingdom, up to the sanctity of the light of Father, the light of wisdom. מה שאין כן העדות די בדיוטות שאין זה אלא כמו הכנה בשביל העלאה. But like we said, what the witnesses do is it's just a preparation. It's just for them to be able to, as it were, they're like in a certain sense, the witness is like a messenger of the court. That's really what it is, because the Dayan, the judge, he sits in the courthouse. And the witness is the one who mediates reality to him. So in that sense, they're like the extension of the court. But to actually perform the act of elevating it, to sanctify it, that has to be by ordained judges. Because we said this has to come from the foundation of Father, not from the Netzachot. But in any case, all three of them work together. So you have the foundation, which is the Sanhedrin, and you have the Netzach and Hod, the victory and acknowledgement of Abba, of Father, the wisdom. They're all working together. Now again, what would be the analogy? The analogy is in the human body, the Netzach and Hod, the victory and acknowledgement, they represent the origin of the what's the scientific name for it, for the cells that can become a fetus, both in the male and the female. So it's the ovum in the woman. Those are the fallopian tubes start from, I don't remember what it's called. I forgot what they're called. Where the ovum come from, and in the male it's the testicles. That's where it comes from. So they have a very important role to play, but they can't finish. They can't do the job itself. You have to have the foundation.
They're like the foundation.
Right. The foundation is the procreative organ itself.
Yes.
And by the female, it's the uterus.
Yes.
So those are where the real connection happens. But you have to have the Netzach and Hod in the reproductive system also. And the foundation is what gives the inner essence of the Father principle. כמו שכתוב במקום אחר על פירוש הברכה שלפני המצוות באומרנו וציוונו שהוא יסוד, שזהו עיקר הצוותא וההתקשרות. And he gives another example of this. He says when we say a bracha, when we say a blessing before doing a mitzvah, why do we have to say a blessing before we do a mitzvah? Well, this is a decision from the sages. There was no blessing before. Right? This is one of the 7 mitzvos that the sages enacted. Right? This week we have the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments have 620 letters, 613 commandments from the Torah, and 7 from Chazal, from the sages. One of them is the brachos. The Alter Rebbe has a beautiful mimer on this, an essay on how they changed the world the moment that they brought this idea of a bracha. Why? Because he says the bracha is meant to create the connection between the person and God. It's like a preparation for doing the mitzvah. There has to be some kind of preparation. And that preparation, when we say v'tzivanu, when we say you commanded us, that word tzivanu, hu yesod, that is the foundation. Like again, foundation, the sphere of foundation, sphere of yesod. Shezeu ikar hatzavta v'hitkashrut, because this is like the male, again, reproductive organ creating the connection. Me'atzmiut en sof baruch hu b'Yisrael al yedei yesod dafka, and it's connecting between Israel and God. That's this word. Now we get to a very important. We're not going to do it justice right now. I want to say a lot about this. In Pri Etz Chaim is a collection from the Arizal, from the Kavanos, the intents of the different commandments of what we do during the day. Rabbi Yosef Ma'arav. So who this person is, I want to talk about tomorrow. It's a very, very interesting story. Most people don't know this part of the Kabbalistic tradition, and you'll find it very interesting, with a lot of history.